Welcome, everybody. It's another episode of Dave Cooper Live, where we are bringing you the people, the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems to building science, building codes to the tech used to build it better. Codes are changing, boundaries are changing, and we are bringing to you a global view of construction innovation and evolution. We are seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and discovering all the ways that innovative building comes to life. And guess what? Today is no different. So let's welcome Dr. Benjamin Corey, who is the CEO and founder of Archistar, to the show. What is happening, Dr. Ben Corey? How are you?
Very good, very good. It's early morning here in Sydney, Australia, but I'm very excited to be on the show.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you on the show. I think what we're going to talk about super exciting, and I'm really looking forward to this because I don't really think there's too many things like it on the market. And if there is, I also don't believe a whole lot of people have seen it. And you guys are doing some pretty amazing things. In fact, it blew my socks off. I'm still not wearing socks. That's how impressed I was. And I know you guys are getting ready to launch it over here in the States as well. So, Doctor, give us a rundown on who you are, where you come from. I want to know everything from birth till this very moment in time, but you only have about 3 minutes to do it. Go for it.
Sure, sounds good. So first of all, thanks for having me on the show. We've been doing some amazing work here in the space, and it's really exciting to see where it is. And especially ahead of the launch in the US, it's great to get some coverage out here. So my background, I'm an architect by background, but I've always had an interest in digital technology and software and how that works in that workflow. And for a long time, during uni, I specialized in that, and I traveled around the world, working with the best and the brightest people in this field, trying to figure out as much as I can about generative design, digital design, and how you could use that to improve the design workflow. So basically, I continued that on by doing a PhD, and hence why the doc. And my PhD was in generative design, and really it's about how do we take the parameters or the rules of creating a building, how can you program that in and take that creativity that an architect would normally have, and how can you put that into the computer so that you can start to generate and come up with ideas, much more ideas than you could possibly as a human working on one concept at a time. So basically, I got into generative design through my PhD. I did the research on that, and to kick off my career in this, essentially, I was a lecturer at the university teaching hundreds of students the latest in technology. I actually started off by, when I left the university, I created my own e-learning academy, which is still up and running live. It's the Archistar Academy. We're in about 40 universities worldwide, and basically teaching about 60,000 students, the latest and greatest in digital technology. So before I got into actually building the technology and coming up with something, my first goal is really just to educate the industry, to upskill them, and to really kind of raise that benchmark in how can we use technology to better the design process, and to go from there. And from there, it's history, I guess. We set up and launched the first cloud-based generative design system, and yeah, that's Archistar as it is today. And I'm sure I'm going to get to show you, a live demo of that as we continue the discussion.
Well, absolutely. We're going to get to see it. In fact, we are going to do a live demo on this. So generative design in layman's terms, I'm going to let you kind of explain it to us for those who may not understand what we're about to talk about. But then we're going to show a quick 2.5, 3-minute video that gives you an overview of this. And then we're actually going to do the live demo so people can see how easy this really is. So go ahead, Ben, tell us a little bit about what generative design really is.
Yeah, so generative design, if you think about the normal design process, people are either drawing concepts, or they're working through a design, or they're using CAD or BIM to come up with a model. Generative design, it kind of turns that a bit on its head. And instead of drawing up a concept or a design one by one, what you start to think about is, what are the rules behind that design? So what are the parameters that drive that design? So if you think about, just say, a high-rise building, how high can that building be? what's the floor space ratio, what's the width and the depth. And if you start to think about what those parameters are, what are the setbacks, you can actually start to drive and create designs based on the rules of what's possible rather than doing it manually. So if you do that, then instead of doing one design at a time, if you can program the computer to follow those rules, essentially you can come up with hundreds of designs at a time. And when I did my PhD on this, the interesting thing was that if at the click of a button you can generate 1,000 designs, how do you know which one is good and which one is not good? And that brings in the whole side of analysis and computational analysis. So you need to start understanding and letting the computer analyze how much sunlight's coming in, how much ventilation's coming in. So when you do end up with 1,000 designs, no human can analyze all that in one go. You need the tools to analyze it for you and help out.
Right.
But it's supercharging architects, designers, developers, planners.
Well, all right. So before we jump into the video, I just have to say, this isn't just about designing the building. Your system, it takes it from planning, from finding the land, not only finding the land, taking all the codes, all the information from that piece of property, pulling it together in real time while somebody's out there looking at this. No longer do you have to go to the zoning department. No longer do you have to, go to the building department and look up codes and look up maps. You put all of this together, and then you layered the building generation on top of this, on what you can actually build on that in real time. Let's take a look at this video, and then we'll come right back to you. All right. Hey, so
Yeah,
this is what we're going to see, and you're going to design it just as quickly as we did that video, right?
100%, probably faster.
Yeah. But before we jump into it,
Mm.
Dr. Ben, that's what I'm gonna call you, Dr. Ben. I was saying, do I call you Doctor? Do I call you Ben? Do I call you Dr. Ben Benjamin Corey? But and you said it doesn't matter to you, and that's what I love. You're a humble person, and you're a lot of fun to talk to. So, all right, let's get into it and just say some quick shout outs because we are on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook live right now. And if you could take a moment, please hit that like button right now. And also, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It means the world to us, and it helps us to continue bringing you this content where we're bringing innovation from around the world, live and in person all the time. So a couple quick shout outs. We're going to run through it because I think we're going to have a lot. Hey, we got good old Joel Hutchins joining us. Joel, you have some questions. I will get to them. Andreas Egger, Guten Tag from Charlotte, North Carolina. Henry Mickelberg, bonjour from Southern France. Looking forward to this one. Blake Gailey, good morning from Utah from Sun Power. Andrew Seeley, mega topic today, he says. Charles Warfield, good morning from ECM in California. Jamie Parr, Jenny Melman, Jerry McCahey from Integra, Miles Biggs, George Ryman, and there's many more getting ready to tune in. We will get to putting names and things up on the board for questions in just a few moments, but right now, let's hop into what everybody came for, and that's this live demo with a live Ben. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, I'm putting you to the screen. Here we go.
All right, exciting. So, yeah, I think, Dave, you mentioned, this is not just about design, and I think that's probably a very critical thing about what we built here. And, we started off with the idea that could we bring generative design to the masses by making this a cloud-based app? But very quickly, when you're thinking about creating designs from the planning rules or from rules, very quickly we found out that we needed to bring in data. And I think a big thing about what we're doing here is that we have brought in, a lot of data, planning data, property data, market data, all onto the one platform. So you've essentially got this all in one spot. And if you click on any particular site on this platform, essentially what you can start to see here is that we bring in zoning data. So this is all of that planning information about what is permitted, what's allowed. We've brought that in across all of Australia. We're doing the same thing across the US. That's why we're so excited to launch in the US. We bring in zoning data, we bring in 3D building data, we bring in contours and detailed terrain of what's happening on the land, because that's so critical to know, is there a slope in the land as you're looking to build a site? And really all of these things here, is there any flood hazards? If you're looking to purchase a property along here and you've identified that this is in a flood zone, then you're going to need to take that into account and really factor that in when you're looking to purchase that land. And what we're doing here is we're showing you flood, we're showing you bushfire hazards, we're showing you heritage sites, and all of these things at the start of the process when you're looking to identify a site before you've even gone to purchase it. Bringing all of that together on one spot is super powerful, because that really identifies the risks up front. And what we're trying to do here is, as you're looking for a development site and you're trying to figure out what's possible, what could be or what should be there, you really want to know, is there going to be any risks here that I'm not sure about or that I need to be aware about? And this is a great example of that type of area where you can start to see some bits of this are flooded, some bits of this are subject to bushfire, and that's kind of invisible information that you don't know until you really start to pull up these data. And so from that, what we've done here is, this this data visualization bit here, it's really an open platform, and at the moment we've brought in key data sets that we think are useful at this stage. But what we've been working with, and based on the feedback of our clients, is that what we've been doing, we've been actually getting in a whole bunch of other property and market information all in the same spot. So if you've now identified a site and you want to know what's happening around the area, for example, what's the sales in the area, so you know how much you could potentially sell your development for once it's done. We bring in all of these data layers in here, and we're looking at the equivalent data sets in the US, but this is like real estate portal listings, so you know exactly what's on the market. You can grab suburb insights on the spot and see what the median sale price is, how that price has changed over time, how many apartments or houses have been sold on the market. All of this information really at your fingertips. And you know, we're data nerds here as well. So we design, but we love data. And you know, just bringing up this data and looking at this, you know, in tabular format, exporting it out, searching, filtering, working through this. If you're getting into property development, if you're an experienced property development looking at a new area that you haven't looked at, this stuff is critical, because what you're doing here is you're seeing, you know, the date that properties have sold, how much they've sold for, what's on the market now, what's on for rent, what has been sold, and really you're becoming the expert in these areas, and you're learning about to how to develop in these areas. And I think the more information you've got here, the better that is. So there's information about the market, there's information about development activity. So if we pull this up, you can start to see straight away what's been approved around your site. And this is super important. So if you click on any of these, you can see here's a development site, residential, commercial, what's been put up there, what's been approved. You know, here's another development site, a mixed use development, 242 units, 5 stories of retail, what the value of that property is. So this is all the activity happening around you. And I think that is super critical, because what you want to know is, what is the settlement risk? You know, what's happening around you? If you go and say, I'm going to develop somewhere here, is there already 10 commercial buildings popping up around you? Is there stuff in the pipeline that you need to be aware about, that you need to know what's going on here? So bringing that data in here really brings market activity, it brings development activity, and it brings zoning activity all together in the one spot. And the beautiful thing about this is that if you click on zoning and you see what's here, you know, you can click on any of these sites. And what we spent a lot of time on is essentially, how do you take a set of planning rules that could be different in every state? And Australia is a really good example of this. It's small enough to solve the problem, but not so big to get overwhelmed by it. But how do you go to every state and come up with a standardized format so that you can capture planning rules in a standardized format and really bring that together in a user-friendly way so that you know exactly what you've got to do here? So this is an example of how we've taken the rules. We look at floor area ratio, we look at maximum building heights, subdivision areas, setbacks, and we bring all those rules together so that you can get a very quick understanding of what's permitted, what's allowed, and then, you know, what are the details on that site, what you could do there. And once you have that, then it's like, okay, you've now got the data. And I think that's the one part which is different from other generative design companies. We've now powered you with all of these data sets. And if you're looking for a site, we've got these powerful filters now that you can say, show me everywhere I could build, you know, townhouses or apartments. And what this is going to show you, it's going to show you exactly where you can do that. So let's go over to a suburb, and let's turn on, you know, where we could put apartments. Okay, so if you look here, there's apartments, and this will filter on, you know, where you can put townhouses, where you can put apartments, and you can start to use this data that we've got to really start to filter and say, show me sites that are between this lot size and that lot size. So you're like straight away going in here. And the beautiful thing here is that one of our add-on partners is an aerial imagery provider that gives you up-to-date aerial imagery, super high res. So these are opportunities that are available for zone for apartments. And you can see a lot of these are already done. But if we go back to that filter and we say, well, show me the smaller sites, bang, straight away you see all these little sites here. And these sites, they haven't been built out yet, which is really cool. So you can say, well, look, these have all been built out in their apartments, but look at all these opportunities, you know, that are around that I could potentially look at and see if I can develop that up too. So really powerful, combining the data and the AI to find sites. You combine those planning rules with the powerful filtering and AI engine so that you can really get this up and running and get this happening so that you can identify those sites quickly. So now, if you take that first part of the process of can we use data to find sites and generate designs, the next bit is, well, what do we do with those sites and what can we do there? So I'm going to come to some examples over here. So let's look at this one here. So here is a site here, and it's next to a train station. So transport orientated developments. It's all the craze now. So what can we do around here next to this train station? We've got all this open land. What can we do here? So the first thing you could do is you could estimate. So we've got calculators built in, and we've pre-populated some that are our own calculators, but you can put in your own calculators as well. Click of the button. This is your back of the envelope napkin sketch. This is your Excel sheet that basically immediately, with some basic planning rules, straight away you can put in, the cost of the development, the revenue you're going to make, and you end up with a residual land value, how much profit you want to make, how much you could purchase that land for. So back of the envelope sketch, it's digitized now. You put your rules in, you put your costs in, and you've got that straight away. But where the real power of this comes in, and this is, I guess, where my PhD and all my work came into it, is the designer button here. And this is live, this is instant, this is what we've got here in the platform. And I think, we've got a team just working on design strategies all day, every day, and just populating this and hitting more and more typologies. If you look here, these are all the different typologies that we do here. Let's pull up a nice commercial option here on the train station, and let's see what's possible. Basically, you hit generate. These are all the options you can play with here. So you'll see this come up, and you can basically mess with these parameters. And this is the whole point of generative design. What's the maximum building height? What's the number of podium stories you want? How much site coverage? How much open space you want? What's your privacy spacing? What's your mix between commercial and retail? What are the offsets? These are all, we populate these with planning rules, and you see a tick there if it comes from the planning rules, but you can mess with these and you can change these on the spot and test out different options there. So if we go to that and we generate some designs, what you're going to see here, it's going to load up some designs in here, and here we go. We've got solutions working through here. So what you're going to see straight away is you're going to see designs popping up on here. And immediately, you can start cycling through these designs, and based on the settings that you've done, it's going to test out a whole range of different options on here and show you how that will fit. And you're working on this from the street frontage, and you're trying to see how you're going to work on this. This is giving you a whole range of options that are really going to start to show you what's possible here. And for all of these designs, we go further and we show you the inside of the designs. So when we're generating this, you've got that concept level, but we're designing further. We're designing the lift cores, we're designing the corridors, we're designing, the facades, and we've really got that level of detail where you can design in there, and you can go into feasibilities and really kind of get your lot schedules and all of that out straight away. And if that's a commercial site, essentially we work on so many different options. So here I'll show you another site, and you can start to see here, what's so powerful about this engine is, like, these sites are crazy shaped designs. Like, look at the shape of these sites. Our parametric engine handles all of those different shapes, and that's what's made it so difficult. But here's a nice open paddock here, that's in a bit of subdivided land. You go over to townhouses and you start generating that, and we are going to come up with solutions that meet, like, it wraps around that site. It handles the geometry of that site, and it really comes up with these solutions instantaneously, and a lot of options on that. And you can see, like, going down this list, there's just a whole range of different approaches to how you would do that. And if you think about that, at the click of a button, you've got these options, and all of these townhouses and these house designs are to the exact spec that you've said. This is the right GFA that you want. You're getting that variation in, but you're thinking about looking at this site. What are the rules? How big are the roads got to be, and how many lots can you get there instantaneously? And I'll show you one more before I move on to something else. But if we take, if we go to the apartment generator, this one is really cool, where you can now start to actually do and I said before that you get all these options. How do you start to analyze them? This is super cool. So if you go into the apartment generator, essentially here, you can look at that building mix and you can see those individual apartments in here, which is super awesome. But this is the cool part. All of these designs are analyzed for solar compliance, for ventilation. So if you want to know which is the best option for how much sunlight they're getting, every one of these condominiums or apartments here, we're telling you how many hours of sunlight each apartment gets and what that percentage is. And these are calculated on every design instantaneously. So you're looking through these options here and you're seeing exactly where the sun is coming from. You're seeing which ones work better. So as you're working through these, you're not only getting the best mix that works from a feasibility point of view, but you might think, oh, I'll just put up a straight up tower here, but these apartments get no sunlight at all. So maybe this is not a good option for you, so you're really kind of working and able to really, and these are really kind of crazy innovative designs that our team keep putting through. These are like fully cross-ventilated designs. You can see shadows. You can put on the existing buildings around you to see, am I overshadowing those buildings, and how does this fit into the context? So straight away, any hour of the day, you're going to start to see exactly where I'm shadowing. So yeah, it's a super powerful tool, and it's getting even more powerful every day as we do it.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, to sum this up a little bit, Ben, I don't know how you keep all this data and this thought process in your head. I mean, it is a massive undertaking, the information that you guys have put into this. But I'm going to ask a pretty simple, basic question. How do you get all this data in there from the zoning and regulations, all the town planning data? This has to be a pretty big undertaking, because you're literally letting people stay in their house, like all of a sudden it makes me a zoning officer, and it makes me an architect, and it makes me a civil engineer and a plan zoner at a very low level, of course. Yeah. I know you still need those professionals when you get further in. Walk us through how you come up with some of this information. And then before we go further, I think we're going to take a moment and just say hello to some people and take some comments and questions.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think we've spent probably, it's over 80,000 man hours collecting planning rules and really getting those processes right. So, it's a big process. There are government open data sets that we bring in if we can. But we've done a lot of work on going through PDF documents and, pulling information and looking at what are the critical data sets that you need to bring that in. And we've literally, like when I started, we were doing that by ourselves, but we've got venture funding now. I've hired data teams, and, we're doing this all so that we can update this automatically, keep up to sync, and really keep these planning rules coming in. And I think a lot of it is also our clients. They come to us and say, hey, this is great. Do you have like the electricity transmission lines? Because we need to know how close we are to a substation. And we work with our clients to find out what they need, and they often drive, have you looked here? Can you get this? And I think a lot of our enterprise clients now are saying, well, we've got a lot of data. Can we just upload that ourselves and manage our own data sets on this? And that's what we're doing now, which is really cool. So if you've got your own proprietary data, you're able to kind of bring that in. And for us, generative design, like to constantly come up with designs and to figure this stuff out, again, we're guided by our clients. We put a lot of stuff in there, but our clients are really great. And I think as a company, we're really focused on how do we deliver value to our clients? And our clients aren't just people that are out there, they're collaborators with us. And I think everyone that comes into this, they know we can talk to the founder, we can talk to the technical team. There's a really good relationship there, and we're small enough that we're very responsive. We're big enough that we can make rapid actions and we can deliver a lot of value. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is powerful. This is a game changer for a lot of people, and and it because you simplified it so well. And I think this is what's really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this. But let's first see who's in the audience and say hello to a couple of people. We'll run down the line. So we have Dr. Benaji Amar. Good evening from Scotland. I hope I got your name right there, Doctor. So thank you for joining us today. Of course, I said Joel Hutchins is with us, and Henry Mickelberg is with us from southern France. Looking forward to this one, as he said. And as we go down the line, let me see. I'm going to try and get to some of the questions we have. Lori Ford has a question. Let me find Lori's question. What is the ETA in the US? Approximate cost and structure was one of her questions. Then there's another question below that I'll get to as well.
Yeah. So we have set up the majority of our data partners in the US, and we've loaded that in, and we're in testing on that. But essentially, we'll be launching out of the US early next year. So the first quarter of next year. So by March, we'll be ready to go. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait till then. So if you want to get access to this and kind of work on this like as a beta tester or work with us to be one of those first clients, definitely reach out to us and we can get you into there. And the beautiful thing about this is it's a nice, easy subscription model. There's varying rates, depending on what you need. So it's a low cost to get into it, and you can expand out the more that you use it.
All right, Lori, thanks. You got another question from Lori. I'm gonna give you the follow-up. Starting with rules and constraints is right on. Always has been my biggest frustration with the design process. So often the designs are not achievable. Love this approach. So appreciate that very much.
And it's interesting on that one. It's the government is starting to look at using this now, because so often the planning rules, it's done in 2D. And it's like we zone this for this, and here are the planning rules, and quite often it doesn't result in something that is achievable. So I think you're going to see the government using these types of tools a lot more, coming up with feasible planning rules from the start, which is good.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. All right, you may know this character, Joel Hutchins. Something tells me Joel knows what he's asking here, because I think he likes this stuff. What parameters do you have built in that relate to the buildability and supply chain? Did I say that right? Buildability and supply chain.
Yeah, well, we're just waiting for someone like Joel to come along with his tools to help out here. But essentially, these are all programmed in. There's quite a lot of control in here about the geometry and how that works. And really, it's about, how do we work with manufacturers and how do we work with other technology companies to really build in the fabrication constraints into here. So if you know that, you could build this out, and you could use a prefabricated system for this, and these are the dimensions, these are the constraints that you need to use. This system can easily be modified to start generating designs to that spec, which could then be fed into other systems, which could go, straight into fabrication. So we're not there yet, but it's not a big stretch to really start building in that information. But at the moment, any of these designs, they're exportable. So you can take them out into CAD, you can take them out into BIM, and you can start to work them up. But yeah, I think the goal would be that essentially you bring that in, you bring those constraints in at the time of generation. So if you get it right from Sunlight, you get it right from a cost and feasibility point of view, and it works from a construction point of view, you're done, right? It's all, you're 90% of the way.
So, I mean, all right, so that's a huge point right there. So what you just said is you can design in our system, but then when it has to come time to put pen to paper or pen to computer for actually submitting plans or designing, you can export the data into whatever system you're using. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, and I'll show you, this is like new footage just coming up. It's a good time to segue into that. But we're very much about how do we integrate into the workflow. And I'm an architect by background. I teach technology in our academy. So we've built this as a Grasshopper plugin. We're doing one for Revit and Dynamo. Essentially, anything that you design in Archistar on the web, you can stream that straight into Grasshopper or Revit and take it from there, start modifying it, and then push it back into Archistar for analysis. And I think this is critical, right? Because whatever we come up with in Archistar, it's like AI driven, it's generative design, it's here are examples. But if you want to really get in there and customize that and change how that looks, and really kind of take to the next level, we allow you to then take those designs almost as examples or as concepts and then modify that and really change it. And I think this opens the door to strong collaboration, and
Yeah.
a lot of people say, how are the architects involved in this? How are the planners involved in this? How are the engineers? This starts to bring that together. So it's like, all right, here are your concepts. Bang, bang, bang. Like I'm like 80% of the way, but how do I then work with my consultants? Because you're not going to get a full design finished on this click of a button. You're going to get close to the idea that you want, but can you then take that out and work with your consultants to come up with that final scheme that's really tailored in? It takes into consideration all the different factors in, and how fast can we do that by allowing that collaboration to work. So yeah, 100%, that whole idea of working into that workflow of
Right.
the process is super important.
Wow. That's super cool. All right, let's keep going through some comments here. Jamie Parr, Joel Hutchins, nice loaded question. Mr. Ravaya can help you with that. Yes, he can. If everybody doesn't know Joel is working on his own parametric and design stuff in the cloud, which is great, great, great. Did I get that right? Parametric, Joel? Watch, he'll give me a hard time. All right. So we got Tom Reddy. Are you able to tie in the takeoff estimates for bidding or costing and also the production and build schedules?
Yeah, 100%. So with all of these designs, we've got all the geometry, we've got all the information, we've got all the metadata. We can recreate that in BIM, we can recreate that in Rhino or any CAD software. We also pull out some basic data from that straight away. So if you want to know your GFA, if you want to know your dimensions, your lot schedule, we can pull that immediately. We can tie that into a feasibility calculator so that you can use that data to start estimating straight away. But I guess as we progress further and we get more of those details coming in, we can start to look at those build schedules and build quantities. And at the moment, it's still that kind of conceptual level. So massing, we get down to more schematics of the unit mix and the corridors and the lifts, but we're not into. We've got tests and experimentation of going down to walls, windows, doors, floors, but yeah, that's still in the works.
Well, I mean, still very impressive. I mean, that it's even a consideration on top of everything you've already done. So I think that was a great question. Thanks, Tom. All right, Henry Mickelberg. So you must be feeling pretty pleased that SpaceMaker, the fourth best front-end generative design solution, was assimilated by Autodesk for $240 million.
Yeah, congrats to them. That's a big thing, and I think Autodesk has done really well there. It's nice, like the fourth best. Okay, who's 1, 2, and 3? So yeah, no, I think that's a great result, and I think it shows that the industry is really focusing in on generative design. I think it's the next stage of design. It's where things are heading, and you can see from here the power of having that computation at your fingertips, having that cloud-based power, just there on the spot, that you can start to drive. It was crazy. The other day, I was catching the train home from the office, and then someone from the office sent me, text said, "Hey, can you check out this site? A customer's looking at this. They had some questions on it." And I'm just on my phone on the train, and I didn't realize that we actually made this semi-mobile friendly. We're going to make it better. But I pulled it up on the train, hit the button and said, like, generate me some designs, test some stuff out. And straight away there, 100 designs on my phone. It's just that power of the cloud, generating stuff. It's insane, like
Yeah.
spend weeks doing that in the past, and you could do that on a train on a mobile phone. But yeah, we've got a great relationship with Autodesk. We're a resident with them, and we work very closely with their generative design team as well.
That's awesome. I mean, but you're right, right? Listen, you find a
Mm.
piece of land, you want to hop on it before everybody else, but
Yep.
you're stuck on the train for an hour getting home.
Quick,
Have at it, right?
buy that land.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. All right, we're going to get to a couple more here, and then we're going to jump back in so we get to everybody. Does this generative tool take into account buildability, logistic constraints, site topography, boundary rules, etc.?
Very good question. So we, at the moment, like you can see, a lot of this is on flat land, but that is not going to be the case for very long. We are working, with a lot of aerial imagery capture companies. We're working with drone companies, and we're working on the tech to really bring in that 3D topography, reality capture mesh directly into this, so that you can actually start to work into the terrain and handle that. How does this work into the actual context, which is super cool. And even so far that if you want to track progress as you're going along, we're even looking at that capability, that you can have an updated reality mesh coming through as you're going through construction. So
Right.
it's getting super cool.
Awesome. Jamie Parr, thanks for that question. Just Jordy Putchiger. Hey, Jordy, great to see you. One of the most impressive tools I've seen in built environment to date. Very, very cool and impressive. Jordy, always great seeing you from Moducore. Keep going. All right, here's one from Charles Warfield. As a national GC, it is a challenge to be the local expert for all of our customers. This app will be a game changer and help us deliver the best service to our design build customers across the country. 100%.
Excellent.
That's got to feel good, right? People saying that, like I said that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really cool. And, I think it's, with COVID and the lockdown and remote work and everything's happened, I think what we saw this year was that it essentially fast tracked, a lot of things that we thought would take longer. And I can show you something up on the screen, which I think is super cool.
Let's do it.
We started going into, I showed you before we could do subdivisions and we could do those community estates. What we've really started to do now is started to work with the large home builder community and developers that are taking large estates, and they're looking at the process for how do we start to take this system and start to use that in the selling process, and can we speed up that process and encourage a richer experience there and faster sales here. So what we've got here is we've got a community that can be managed on the site, so you can see the designs that are being built, what's still available on the market for sale, what's been sold. But what's really cool about this is that you can now start to bring in not just that conceptual massing technology, but you can actually start to bring in real house designs that are 3D, that are visual, and that are fitted to the site. So what you'll start to see here is that we take into account the planning rules. And if you've got a library of designs, of home designs that you've worked on, and you've got that catalog, we can upload them and we can actually fit them in so that out of all the designs possible, you can only choose the ones that fit into the design and are suitable for that site. So this has been a really powerful tool, and especially in Australia, where you do have a lot of choice on what home design you want on a piece of land, and you can often pick from, a library of designs that a builder may have. This is really changing the game here, where you can fast track that, allow the control for the customer to really kind of get in here, explore the designs that they want, pick what they like. And even if you've got a large community, it may be as simple that you've got a few options to pick from. You want to pick that particular site, test out what options there are, and bang, I like that. So we're finding that this is becoming very useful in the sale as a sales tool as well. Once you've got your development done, can you start to work through that sales process and involve the end client into this. So
Right.
there's a bit of a consumer play here,
So
which is super cool.
you just keep adding on. I don't know, man. Do you sleep ever? You just keep adding
Well,
on.
it's about 4 a.m. here. I think if you're a founder doing something global from Australia, I think sleep is out of the
Out of the question.
question, right?
I know. I know. Well,
So,
you know what? Lack of sleep causes hair loss. I'm just telling you from experience. All right, let's get through a few more comments and then we'll let you wrap this out. Can you believe it's already been 48 minutes?
wow,
It just flies
time
by.
flies. Time flies.
Yeah, yeah. So Henry Mickelberg said, Henry's also my comic relief sometimes. My God, that demo was 400 times faster than I can use Grasshopper. I love it.
Yeah.
Peter Paul, is Canada on the radar?
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at we're launching out in the US and the UK first quarter of next year, but we've got a lot of interest from Canada, and it looks like you guys have got really good data sets there, open data sets to use and bring in. So yeah, I can see that happening very shortly after.
Love it. All right, perfect. Thank you for the question. Moving forward here, just some humor. Henry Mickelberg, it's because you're old. That's funny. That is funny. All
Is
right,
that
we're going to keep
directed at
going
me
down.
or you, Dave?
All right, Joel has some stuff to chime in here, so let me put that up there. How does the IC sector contribute to helping technology platforms like this provide more details in terms of construction and project delivery?
Yeah.
Here,
I don't know.
IC
I guess
equals industrialized construction.
I think that it's I think it's if you look at this as essentially a platform going from finding a site to looking at the planning rules, identifying what you can do where, then testing designs, and if you look at that, what's the feasibility? Is this going to be possible? Is it going to comply? I think then what's the constructibility? What's the
Right.
fabrication? How's this going to work? I think if you look at that bit at the end, there's a lot to contribute to there, and I think we're kind of like 3/4 of the way there, and I think there's a lot to explore at that other end, and it goes like, everyone's talking about digital twins and, how do you manage these assets after it? Like it can keep going down the track, right? So there's a lot they can contribute.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, here we go. One more question. Then we're going to get back to then we'll get back to finishing up the demo that you have, and then we'll round out with some questions if there's any left. How's that sound?
Yeah, will architectural creativity be still there? Sure. We like, these are suggestions, and we work with architects, and we're opening this up to architects. Like architects use this, and I think it's all about, I'm an architect by background, and for me it's like, well, if you've got these tools and you've got access to this and you can do this, how much powerful as an architect can you be, and how much more creative can you be? So I feel like this is something that should supercharge architects, and we always say, I think we got a little bit of a slogan here, human plus AI. How does the AI, how does the generative design, has that power the creativity even more? And I've got a video up of live editing in the browser, which I think would be cool.
Yeah,
So there's another feature that we're releasing as well, and this is going down that path where you can come up with ideas out of the box, kind of auto generate, but how, as an architect, can you now start to mess with these designs? Can you change them? Can you delete them? Can you really tailor things to the context and use the power of that AI to then recalculate those solutions, come with a better thing here? So maybe you don't have enough sunlight in these and you really want to kind of adjust it and try out new solutions. It's this rapid prototyping and testing that it's combining, that form finding, that concept building with the grunt of the computer to calculate all the other stuff, which I think that's the message. And like, this is going down to the level of detail of like, I'm editing the end types of that apartment. I'm changing the width. I'm making it single loaded or double loaded, or there's a lot of control that we're giving access into this to really kind of fine tune. So I think it should supercharge that creativity rather than stifle it or stop it. It should make it much better.
Well, it also helps people with something we haven't talked about yet, the sustainability side of this, the value of knowing where the sun is and the design and where the shadowing is for, more energy efficient buildings and more energy efficient layouts. I mean, it's taking all that into perspective at some point. Yes.
100%. And that's right. Like, out of all of this, you should have more creative buildings, you should have more sustainable buildings, you should have more thoughtful buildings, because you can now look at 1,000 options and you can really, there's no excuse really not to get it right. You should be testing this out and really kind of taking it to that next level.
Yeah, for sure. Here, we got another comment come in here. So, Lori Ford, my focus is on large scale master plan community with a mix of residential, commercial, recreational uses. Due to the project's complexity, zoning needs to be negotiated with the jurisdictions, which is super challenging. This tool could be a great way to communicate alternatives and even create a collaborative effort with the jurisdiction. Now, that is a comment that has so much weight in gold, because it's exactly it. Now you have 7,000 designs to show somebody if they didn't like the first one, right?
And like, that's, we even get government organizations that have sites or places, that precincts they need to rezone, and this is like an excellent what if tool. So what if we did this? What if we did that? And you've got the power of like the speed of this. You've got that ability for the analysis of that. And, I haven't shown it, but it's something we're working on, and we've got a beta version of it. We call it projects. It's like essentially precinct planning, where you don't just work on one site, but you work on multiple sites, and you could have mixed use. You could have different types of buildings there. But, if you've got so many options just for one site, you can imagine for a precinct, how many options you could do in how many ways you could tackle that. So 100%, like, it's something that the government is very interested in, and we went to the government saying, hey, you could do auto compliance, and they all come back to us, all the councils here, saying strategic planning. How do we use this as a tool to really look at those next precincts and really figure out what are the best options and take into account, and when I do my PhD, they said architectural design, urban planning, they said these are wicked problems, because the complexity of all the things you've got to take into account when you're coming up with these solutions, it's, if the computer can help out on that and start giving you that analysis back, so that as you're being creative and you're testing, you're getting that feedback straight away. How powerful is that? And
super powerful. Super. I mean, this is just seeing the comments and the interaction that we're getting here today. This is how powerful it is. And I knew it was going to be this way. Frederick Laurie, my firm, Mod CLT, focusing on modular construction in Charlotte, North Carolina. How soon before the East Coast is added? I apologize, I jumped on late. You already answered. Well, Frederick, before you answer that, you can find this on YouTube. So make sure you go there and subscribe to our channel, and you can watch the whole thing once this is over. It'll be there within the next 24 hours. Go ahead.
Excellent. Look, I said before early on the piece that we are launching out in the US first quarter of next year. So by March, we'll be out there. But again, that doesn't stop you from almost testing this out and getting ahead of that release. So we're looking for strategic clients that really want to test this out in the US before we do our full launch. So my suggestion, reach out, connect with us, and maybe we can get you onto it a bit earlier so you can start testing it.
I want a trial run.
Yeah, sure. Contact me, Dave, after this, and we'll get you set up.
I mean, it's time to start developing. This made life easy, right?
Exactly.
I love it. All right, couple more questions, then we're going to get back into it here. I guess maybe even comments. So, Blake Gailey, if someone was a client of yours, what would be the process? What would the process be to upload all of the home plans, apartments, etc.?
Yeah. So look, out of the box, we've put in thousands of generative design strategies. So if you don't have designs, if you just want to test it out, like, that's all out of the box. You can just click the button, generate, and it starts coming up with the designs. If you have, like before I showed the home designs, if you've got your own library, we've made that super simple. So there's a self-uploader where you can just go in there, upload your home designs. There's a self-uploader where you can upload your own subdivisions. So if you've made your own communities and you've got those plans, you can upload that by CAD. If you want us to do it for you, we do that for our clients as well. So you can just give us your Revit files, your CAD files, and we can just upload that. It doesn't have to be 3D. We can work with 2D. We can work with 3D. It's super flexible.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much for the for the question, Blake. All right, a couple shout outs. Alex Beamson, Craig Campbell, Michael McGuire. Thank you for tuning in today. All right, Doc. If I can call you Doc, is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, I'm going to let you wrap this one up, round out, and if there's a couple questions in the end, we'll do that. But
yeah,
I don't know what else more you could show us.
Yeah, I think I've covered most of it. Until next time. Yeah, I just want to say, like, thanks for having me on the show. We've really battle tested this in Australia. We've got all of our partners lined up for the US and the UK. It's super exciting. What really makes this powerful is not just us working here, but it's really the clients and those early adopters that come on. So if you're in the US, if you're anywhere around the globe where you really want to start testing this out and be part of that early adoption phase where you can really contribute to this and work with us on delivering that value, we're keen to hear from you and keen to get you on board as soon as possible. So feel free to reach out after this. And and I just want a big thanks to Dave. It's been great talking to you, over the last couple of weeks and stuff. And I'm sure as we release more and more, we've got some big announcements coming up. Hopefully we can get back on the show and give you guys some more updates.
Yeah, well, you know what? I would like nothing more than to have you on the show when you guys actually do your launch. Maybe we can be part of the launch here in the United States.
Yeah.
Take you on our road show with us, so to speak, right?
That sounds great. That sounds really good.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you bringing this to us. I really appreciate you using our platform to show our audience. So everybody out there, like I said, all of this information you can find on our YouTube channel. So go there and subscribe. And also, Dr. Ben Corey, your information will be in all the comments and everything else. So we'll make sure that is up there. And I've been periodically putting your ticker to your website across the bottom.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of great conversations. There's a lot of great people that I know that tuned in, and there's a lot of you that I don't know. So please like, share, and follow us. It helps us bring people like Dr. Benjamin Corey to you. So, all right, let's just check one last time if we got anybody else here. One more. Let's go. James Pryor, very, very cool. Keen to have a chat to discuss your plans for the UK. Excellent. And we have Frederick Laurie. Okay, awesome. I spent a lot of time and money trying to figure out the build right footprint. This is exactly it. You're absolutely right. And this is why this is going to be very, very, very powerful. And then we'll end it here. Thanks, Dr. Benjamin Corey and Dave Cooper and Joel Hutchins. Thank you. You made this introduction for me. So I really do appreciate it. It's been a great connection. So, all right, everybody. With that said, I'm Dave Cooper, Dr. Benjamin Corey, Archistar, doing amazing things with generative design. We really appreciate all of you joining us today, all the questions, all the comments, and we're going to have Dr. Benjamin Corey on again. If you have any questions, you can reach out to him directly or reach out to myself, and I can make a personal introduction for you. So with that said, don't go anywhere, Doc. I'll be right back to you after the outro, okay?
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 1 p.m., Building Modular with Jennifer Cooper. And guess what? We are going to be talking about Solar Village. And not only talking about it, there's a manufacturer that's doing a hybrid modular approach using SIPs, panels, and modular. And they are building their own villages. Solar Village is on tomorrow. Be sure to join us, 1 p.m. We'll see you next time. Bye now.